And then the final step of the way is you remove the agent and you reboot the application code, and the application will make the native call to Vault. But it's quite a gradual process.
Oh, so you don't switch directly from...
You don't have to go straight from unmanaged secrets to everything's dynamic right on time. You can gradually step through the various maturity stages and build it in slowly. And that's the way most people would recommend to do it.
I don't even know how this is standing anymore. If you're trying to work with the UK government or tried building capability in a financial organization for DevSecOps, I got a chance to speak to Barnaby Hurst from GlobalLogic around what does it take to deploy DevSecOps capability like secret management across a regulated organization like a financial organization, for example. And overall, we spoke about the challenges you may face and how you can unlock that capability within your team and what are some of the things you may require beyond just doing secret management, which probably is a good place to start if you're trying to do DevSecOps at scale in a large regulated organization. Overall, it was a great conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can support the work we do by subscribing or following us on the YouTube and LinkedIn of the world. Thank you to HashiConf for inviting us to HashiConf, and I hope you enjoy this episode. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Could you share a bit about yourself and what do you do in that infrastructure as code space, and what's your story like?
Yeah, so my name's Barnaby. I am a Hashi Ambassador, so I release content about HashiCorp products and stuff. So stream on Mondays for something called DevCast Ops, so go nuts for that. And then outside that, I work for GlobalLogic as a consultant, consulting on platform engineering, cybersecurity, infrastructure as code, DevOps. So they're all blending into one, so across that field.
When we were talking before this, we spoke about your history with public sector, and now primarily in that financial sector as well. Having built platform or infrastructure or environments in some of them and all of them, what do you see as the difference for people? And I guess it's because we have an audience which is a mix of cybersecurity people, but platform engineers who are interested in cybersecurity as well. And some of them are in the regulated space, some of them are not. Financial and public sector, they come across as regulated industries. And a lot of people may not even be aware of what is the state of infrastructure sometimes in these environments. How would you say it's different creating infrastructure as code or even building a platform environment in a public sector versus building an environment in a financial institute?
Yeah, so they're both highly regulated sectors, and they're fairly similar in the things they care about. The difference from building it in a firm that is not highly regulated is data ownership. It is a massive source of concern because both in financial and public, if you're working for a government agency, the data you own is sensitive, whether it's personal identifiable information or people's financial records. So often they'll have their data variable and they don't really want anything to leave.
Okay.
So it's building a platform in a way that data can't leave it. So often you'll see places that aren't really that keen on going into the cloud, or if you go into the cloud, you have to be very sure of where your data is. A lot of banks are less certain about cloud, and they'll have security and secret sides on-prem.
Yeah.
And then they'll maybe run infrastructure in the cloud for applications that don't need to have all this data in them. Public sector, from my experience, they were happier to go to the cloud, but they'll often use government-regulated cloud.
Fair.
Generally work the same as the cloud that you and I would have access to. You can get access to the government-regulated data centers if you want to. They're more expensive. So
of course, if you can afford it, yeah, fair. Would you say, is that why people end up going on the platform path? What makes people go down even in the regulated industry, and you've been working on building platforms, or at least helping people enable with platforms. What's the main goal behind people building platforms?
The really nice thing about a platform is you're trying to remove replication of work is the goal from it. You don't want every application team to spin up a secrets manager or their own CI/CD pipeline or databases, or anything like that. So if you have a platform team, you have a team that's responsible for building those products or designing the patterns to deploy those products. They will work on those. They can bake in security to the patterns when they're defining them, and then they can deploy those out to the different application teams, or the application teams will just come to the platform and consume them. So it saves the application team the time, because often they won't have someone in their team who is necessarily a security specialist or a networking specialist or something. There's lots of bits that goes into a platform. So it means they can focus more on the development of their application, and then Armand talked a bit about it this morning in the keynote. The plumbing is abstracted away from them, and they can just focus on the bits that are important to them.
Interesting. Yeah. And talk about building and breaking platforms. I've got Jenga in front of me as well. And you've informed me of the new rules.
This looks like it should be loose.
Damn, that is...
looks. I've seen people, they've gone for something that's really like one of the bottom ones at the lower at the start.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it
And
falls
it's just,
over.
Yeah, the way it's like an
Oh my
unstable
God.
table,
Yep.
and that's just the end of it.
I feel like it's actually...
You can go for a middle or the other side.
Yeah, I think I feel like it's... Oh, jeez. Damn, this is definitely not my best game. Oh my...
Take all the bricks out at once. Does it still count as a go?
Yeah. What if I just do this? Oh, there you go. Sorry, I moved it for you, but I made it a bit challenging for you.
Yeah, you've got a nice rift tower.
Yeah, it's like already leaning down a pizza by now. See, Barnaby knows what the trick is. He's trying to feel which is the middle one that is just...
Yeah, if I push it and nothing happens, I'm probably not going to get it out.
So if you just keep pushing, poking around.
Yeah, you can feel which ones, depending on how strict you are playing it, some people frown upon.
Oh, really? They frown upon this? Quite flexible, man. We're like platform team over here. Building a platform, which is, at the moment, it's just patching coming out over here. This is...
Yeah, we put something in that's not quite working at the moment. And
Yeah.
probably needs to be redesigned.
Yeah, I think... There you go. Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna British at all. Otherwise, it gets real messy when we eventually get back up to these layers. We get up to these
Clearly
layers.
someone's experienced, man. You're like, fat fingers, no way. This is what makes you realize you have fat fingers. What does that mean?
I don't really know.
It's a new rule. We just have two...
Stack them both.
Oh, dude, you're brave. Yeah. Awesome. So now that we have been smashing through this platform, which is going to go above a certain layer after a point, we were talking about the financial institutes having their own unique challenges with platform and making sense that, hey, you know what? It makes sense to have a platform and you have lots of application teams. You have people who are trying to build on the concept of standardizing, for lack of a better word, what infrastructure as code is like, what vault or secret management is like. Do you find that in terms of building it for a financial organization, what kind of skill set? Because I imagine not every financial institute is that friendly with moving to cloud and that friendly with doing infrastructure as code. What is a skill set they should think about in their team if they were to do this themselves? Now, it can be challenging in whatever way, I'm sure, has their own unique flavor to it.
Yeah.
What are some of the skills that people look at when they're trying to build their own cloud? I don't want to say cloud platform, but a platform team. See, how do you even define platform team? Because I feel like everyone has a different definition of it. How do you define it?
Yeah, it's really difficult. What we would call platform teams is essentially the people responsible for building centralized infrastructure solution.
Yeah.
The word infrastructure can get very vague here because it will often encompass like monitoring, auditing, and all of the systems that...
And the on-premise cloud and all of that as well.
But it's essentially a platform team is there to support developers. So they're building a platform that developers can deploy their applications onto, whether those be financial applications, machine learning, AI-based applications. If you build your platform, just have one centralized platform that can handle all of these workloads, what skill sets you need to build that will vary depending on what kind of applications you're running on there. So they'll influence certain things. So if you're looking at running AI, you probably want to bring some data scientists into your platform team because they understand sort of the data science workflows. Is having sort of your basic infrastructure guys are really useful, especially if you don't necessarily want to transition to the cloud and you're going to continue to use resources that you have on premise. Their knowledge of what you already have is helpful into integrating the cloud into your on-premise solutions.
Yeah.
Because it's rare that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to go, I'm going to build a platform, and you don't need to interact with anything that you've built before. Not everything moves as often. You start building a platform, application teams migrate, but they might not even migrate their whole application at once. So they'll talk back. Having the sort of core DevOps skills is also pretty important for that, because a lot of the platform is what would traditionally be DevOps, as it has before. So it'd be your CI pipelines, writing infrastructure as code, and kind of knitting that all together. Something that is also really important when you start building your platform is think about how big it could possibly get if everything in your organization migrated. And if that is very large, look at building it in a way that's scalable. Because there's a lot of times you'll find you go, oh, I'll build this, and it works well for the first few application teams. You're not putting much load through the system. There isn't much going on, so you'll have either manual steps or things that are hard-coded here and there.
Yep.
But when you're trying to scale that to maybe hundreds or even thousands of application teams, into all different like microservices, those things that are hard-coded or manual, it doesn't scale, and you need to work out how you're going to sort of build in sort of structures in it that everyone can have their unique area, and they're not going to start overlapping bits like that. So it doesn't necessarily take that much longer at the beginning to sit down and think, actually, this sort of area, this is going to need to be repeatable and sort of variabilized, and trying to get it so as much of it can be variabilized and it can split in. So then when you later down the road and you have several application teams already on board and you're helping supporting them, you don't need to re-architect your platform while people are already on it. It's a lot easier to do the work before anyone's on it because you can play around, you can tear things down, rebuild them, and it's not going to affect anything. If something's in production, you can't really tear down your platform.
No, you can't. I love the fact that you are asking people to plan ahead before going in and blending, or not planning ahead for thousands of applications you're going to build. I think recently you said you were working on the secret management side of things. Is that an easier part to start, or people should think of building a platform before they go down the secret management part?
Secret management, you want to you'll bring it into your platform. It'll naturally happen as you build. You'll have secrets that you handle in the build process, whether it's Terraform credentials, TLS certificates for application communication. You'll very quickly hit the point where you have secrets.
Yeah, okay.
Bringing a secret manager in an early point is quite a good idea, because then you have a centralized place for secrets. You can potentially build your secret manager before your platform. So if you start migrating things to Vault, for example, beforehand, you can get application teams used to using Vault for their secrets. And then when you build out a platform, it's just natively supported as part of the platform. Secrets are also often easier to transition. So there's a lot of focus that's been put on it, trying to make it as seamless as possible, because companies that are doing secrets management tools know that people handling secrets is a very important part of their business. Often if what's being passed around, the data in those is lost, it can cause outages that sometimes can't necessarily be recovered from. If you lose sort of root credentials to the important system, you have to start again. So there's a lot of security.
Would you say with the secret management part, so there seems like there's flexibility to start either before you build a platform team, start with secret management, then move to a platform, depending on, obviously, every company may have different business units that may be at different stages. So some applications may be more ready to jump on that before anyone else. If you are looking to deploy secret management as a standard, is that I think that what I'm looking for is, a lot of people don't know what's involved in it. And I imagine there's a lot more find the right application, because you might have some legacy application. What's a good starting point to even start having this conversation?
When you bring the secret manager in and you've got your access to it set up and segmented so people can't access things they shouldn't do, you can then replace things that are already in place. So if you have an application that's reading just a vars file off a server, you can often deploy something like a Vault agent to that server, which will then template out that vars file for you. The application still has the same access to secrets, but instead of them just being stored on the server, they can now be centrally managed. And you can then start looking at moving into dynamic credentials, if it's Fortsit, and still use the same way of consuming it. You'll just have your Vault agent. Instead of calling the static secret in Vault, it can then call a dynamic endpoint and inject those into the file for your application. And then the final step of the way is you remove the agent and you reboot the application code, and the application will make the native call to Vault. But it's quite a gradual process.
Oh, right. So you don't switch directly from...
You don't have to go straight from unmanaged secrets to everything's dynamic right on time. You can gradually step through the various maturity stages and build it in slowly. And that's the way most people would recommend to do it, because you don't want to do all the change all at once. Because you lose track of what's going on. So if you have that little stepping through, it makes it easier to adopt. If you feel confident that you can just go straight to dynamic, go for it. But if you're unsure about all these things that are going on in the background, the bits you need to set up to get dynamic working, you're not sure if you're interested, you can just move your current static credentials to a centralized management and have the same credentials, they're just pulled from elsewhere. And then when you feel more comfortable, you can then upgrade to the sort of more secure, shorter-lived credentials, limiting that sort of attack surface later on.
People have application onboarding kind of teams as well when they're going down like a big project, whether it's digital transformation or building platforms or building a secret management platform as well. Are there applications that are easier to start on that secret management journey, whether they are on Kubernetes or whether microservices? I don't know if there are nuances to it, and I know I'm throwing a curveball at you on this one, but does that make a difference in terms of picking what's the right one to start with first? Instead of, to your point, not every application will be ready. They might have hard-coded static credentials, and mainframe has 4-digit password.
Because generally it will be what you use the most and what you're most comfortable with, because you'll understand that technology the best, so you'll feel the most comfortable importing something new into it. Stuff like Kubernetes, if you're very mature in your Kubernetes lifecycle, you probably will have some kind of secrets in Kubernetes already, which will just be potentially just in the cluster.
Yeah.
They can very easily be replaced by sort of injectors that just inject secrets into the cluster for you. So that's a fairly low effort change for you. Just inject the secrets from externally, and come in. But there's the easy level of all of them. And the bit when it gets complex, when you're starting to thread multiple systems together and tie it all in.
And if they all share a secret which needs to be managed to your point, have the right access, so no wrong person gets access to it, but at the same time, the system that must be able to access it should be able to access it seamlessly.
Yeah, the tricky one is, as you said, when you have shared secrets. Yeah. And often it's a visibility thing. If you don't know where your secrets are being used, it's very difficult to go to rotation of secrets, because if you don't know all the places that it needs to be rotated and you miss one, something suddenly stops working. There's tools that are coming out to do that. There's various scanning tools coming out. I think Hashi's version is Vault Radar, where they'll scan your sort of estate. It'll find secrets in Git repositories and stuff like that, and tell you about them. So that'll give you visibility, and then that helps with the adoption, so you then have a better visibility of where things are.
Yeah.
So it gives you more confidence to go and replace them. If you're in a highly regulated sort of industry, you may have issues with this because it is scanned externally.
Also,
all the reports goes to
outside.
HTTP Cloud. You can run an agent inside your own environment. So the agent does the scanning, but the metrics are still reported through the cloud platform, which I know is a deal breaker for certain people, because even though there's nothing sensitive leaving the environment, it's still data leaving the environment.
Yeah, and to your point, it goes back to data ownership. Where is the ownership? Where is the data going? Clearly, my producer wants me to just lose this game straight away. That's why she's on to me. Oh, there you go. I love the trick that you just gave me, which is I just flick it once just to see if it actually
Just give me a
moves.
little tap if it doesn't move.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to touch it. Like, am I the one who's breaking it for Barnaby? Oh, not that one.
Yeah, some of them you feel and they're just completely static.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
And it's funny, some of them that look like they shouldn't move.
Yeah, but they somehow are moving as well.
Ooh.
Oh.
Hitting the table is not a good way to do this.
Oh, wait, well, would that, if hitting the table and it fell off, would that have meant that...
I would have counted that as a loss for me if I punched the table and knocked over the tower. That's purely my own fault for just being clumsy at that point.
Yeah, fair. Oh. I can't even see where that was going.
We're really going for the bottom, so we want it to be unstable.
Yeah, that one's going to definitely go off. Oh.
Everything's... Oh, that one's nice and loose.
Yeah.
So keen.
Yeah, how like, the things should be move faster because the producer is go. I'm like, okay.
Kind of those ones I want to take out in my head, but they're just not going to go.
Go
for a middle one, mix it up.
It's an advantage to have good long fingers as well. You can just poke it all the way through.
Just cheat and get a chopstick and just push it out the other side.
There you go. That should come up. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Maria Glass. It's gonna fall. It's gonna fall. Oh,
got it.
I don't even know how this is standing anymore. Oh no. That was lucky, man. Geez.
I feel like we're not far off.
Yeah, definitely feels like we are really close to the foreseeable end.
see one out of our made layers. We've got high enough that we can take what we've built.
Oh, actually, that's a good point, because after a point...
Yeah, so these layers are untouchable, but from here down, you're golden.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So this can go on forever as well.
Eventually, you get to a point where it's just one brick on each layer.
Oh.
Yeah, and then a stack of 3 at the top. So you do have a limitation.
Don't
I don't
worry,
think this
we
is
don't
gonna
need,
be
we don't have any info question. Oh, maybe we do have a info question. This is going to be unstable for sure. Now that we are making this more unstable for people who are on the engineering side and who are looking at Terraform and probably being terrified by it as well, what's a good place to start learning about Terraform?
So there's lots of tutorials on HashiCorp's website, which are very much aimed as entry points. You can go in, you can start out messing around. It essentially gives you the code that you need to run. And a lot of them will focus around sort of free tooling that you can run locally. So if you have Docker, you can run it. It will deploy Docker containers for you just so you get used to the syntax.
Interesting.
Okay. Which is nice. And then going forwards, you can expand out and start going into the AWS and the cloud environments and start deploying there. There are official courses if people are looking to do more structured training. Mm-hmm. So HashiDo courses where you can go learn about the various tools that have sit in a couple of days. There's other online resources like Udemy classes as well. It depends how much you're happy to spend the time yourself teaching it and getting hands-on and playing with it that way. Or would you prefer to go into more structured learning where someone explains to you and you maybe spend a couple of days with an instructor and they'll go through labs and stuff with you. So if it's something that you're like, we want to start deploying this really soon, and you haven't had any sort of hands-on experience, maybe structured courses would be better for you because you'll learn faster with someone who's a qualified instructor talking you through the labs and you can ask them questions. If you have a bit more time and have played around with various different texts before, you can just teach yourself from the docs, which are pretty well written, and the tutorials online that talk you through various things. Another thing that's probably worth mentioning here, if you're coming more from an application developer side of things into Terraform and don't necessarily want to learn HCL, they have something called Terraform CDK, which you can essentially write Terraform using regular programming languages. So I think they support Java, TypeScript, Python, Go, and there's one other which I can't remember.
Node.js?
Maybe, I can't remember off the top of my head. Docs tell you exactly which ones, but then you can essentially define Terraform resources using standard programming terms. So if you're more used to that and don't want to learn language, you can come in that way as well. So it's lowest barrier of entry for a dev.
What would you say is a good example? So HCL, for context, is the template that defines what would be created.
Yeah, so HashiCorp programming language, it's an extension of JSON, so you can do some functional things on top of JSON to compute values. So you have for loops in there, you can do if statements, so you can do some things that are programmatic. When you start off with Terraform, you'll probably do simplistic things and everything will be
hello world.
Yeah, be defined in your code. You won't have anything that's dynamic. It will be static config that you deploy and start off learning the structures of the objects like that. And then you can move to spinning up more dynamic resources, starting variabilizing things, and it will naturally evolve.
Oh, so what would be what's a hello world equivalent in Terraform world?
I guess the one that we would traditionally do is you spin up a VM in the cloud is often what we'll give someone that's new to. Is like, here's Terraform, spin up a EC2 box, and then you can log on to the box and see the thing that didn't exist.
Without actually logging into the box, but from Terraform itself.
You can't log onto the box through Terraform. And depending on how fancy you want to go, you can just set it up so it automatically register the host and boundary. And then you can use boundary to connect to the box. It works. But for a more basic hello world, what you probably do is you can give Terraform an SSH key, and that will dump that into the box for you as part of the provisioning, and then you can use your private key to log onto the box just with regular SSH if you open it up to the internet. And as this is just a hello world application, there's nothing sensitive running on it. You should really deploy it in its own kind of cloud account that's not your account with all your resources that run
no production.
But get a dev cloud account. I think AWS does like free tier, and they give you some credits when you start, and most of the other cloud vendors do. So if you haven't touched it before, they give you, I think it's about $150, which if you're sensible is plenty to play around with. Just don't spin up giant boxes and forget about them.
Don't start building AI models.
No. But if you're doing it through infrastructure and code, the nice side of it is it's all trapped in your infrastructure as code. So when you're done playing with it, you run Terraform destroy, and it will destroy everything that you've created. So you have the confidence that you don't have things left around. Because a lot of the times when, especially I found it particularly when I was learning AWS, it's very easy to have things left when you're trying to delete things. Because you go, I want this, and it quietly in the background creates a load of other stuff to support that resource. And you go, okay, delete this. It deletes what you tell it to delete. It leaves the things it quietly created in the background. So you'll have a few things. You might have like a public IP address that is costing you a few cents every month. But if you have loads of those, it starts to add up.
That's
right. You're like, why am I being charged like $5 just for an AWS account that I don't do anything with?
So to your point, the hello world was to build an infrastructure and try and log into it. The next stage, would you say, is more, I'm thinking people who want to go down that platform engineering part.
You want to start building modules at that point, reusable code. Your hello world, you'll define everything in your hello world files. And that will be needs, but that's not particularly useful if you give it to someone else. If you give someone else the exact same thing and your hello world is deployed, they'll go to deploy it and they'll go, this already exists. So you want to start taking out various bits that needs to be unique, or you want to potentially change when you do it. So that might be the size of the instance, the network groups that it's in and things like that. And you put those into variables. And if you have a standard stack that you're deploying that maybe needs 2 EC2 boxes and then maybe a database and some certificates from ACM or something like that, you start building these resources into a module, take out the bits that need to be defined when creation, and then they're in variables, and then you'll often have outputs of the information that you want from the resources that are created. So if we are still logging into those boxes, you want the IPs, you need to be able to route them. And then you have packaged this up neatly into a module, and then you can consume that by calling the address to your module, and you can publish that to GitHub and pull it from Git, or you can internal registry, or you can even publish to...
Or you can go all the way to your point. Almost like a third layer could be the fact that you're just pushing your code into GitHub, it triggers the Terraform, and that Terraform is the one creating a hello world with the module that you may have defined.
Yeah, so we've gone really deep into this and some of the stuff that I do on the streaming and the rebuild out. So we're essentially trying to manage a lot of the stuff through Terraform, and our Terraform itself is managed by Terraform. So we want to get to the point where we have a button or like a script and we just go run, and everything, you have nothing but like maybe some cloud credentials and some Terraform cloud credentials. You hit run and then you'll get a whole working platform at the end of it. And it will get there. But what this does, it will trigger a module that will build in Terraform Cloud. It creates workspaces, and then it's got run triggers. So it's gone, okay, I've created these workspaces. It then triggers those workspaces, will then deploy. And the way it's linked up is we have various layers of our infrastructure, and each one consumes a bit of the previous layer. So you run the Terraform module that builds that, and then it goes, I've built and updated this, and it fires a little webhook to the next stage and goes, hey, the infrastructure that you were using maybe have updated or is now being created. Go and run your plan again, and it will take the next module, take the outputs that it needed from the previous one, plumb those in as the variables, and then start building it. You can chain through. You can jump out of Terraform and back in as well if you want to use webhooks. And I think they're looking at using stacks now to help define this. So it's slightly cleaner than all these little run hooks that are behind the scene. But
so is this the DevOps playground you were talking about?
So DevOps playground, we do talks like this, also streaming through DevCast Ops. So we are building our own platform, which we're trying to do for as cheap as possible because it's our own money. And we don't want to spend loads, but we're using that. We essentially on Mondays, we stream in the evenings, us building the platform there. And then we were like, we're building a platform, we're going to do something with it. So we're like, we'll spin up game servers on it. I think we've done Minecraft, we're doing Factorio at the moment. And so we'll spin those up as jobs, containerized jobs in Nomad, and then connect them through a VPN that we've got configured. That we're looking to maybe move to something like console.
What are the components behind the scene then? Amazon account?
So we use GCP for this just because none of us had used GCP. We're doing something to teach people. It'd be nice if we learn along the way. So we picked a new cloud account and went with that. But then behind that, we have GitHub, I think we use for this one, Terraform Cloud, and then we use Terraform to provision our infrastructure. We then build our images with Packer.
Yep.
And the config for that is in Ansible collections, which we've made public. So it pulls those Ansible collections in, builds those, and then we deploy and we get a Nomad server, which is also a client in our case to try and reduce costs. If you were doing this at a slightly bigger scale, you have the client separately. And then within Nomad, we have a job that will deploy additional Nomad. So we want a game server, we go to Nomad, we hit spin up a client.
Yeah.
It spins up a client, it tags it with the relevant tags, Nomad then goes sees, there's a server that's tagged Factorio. I have the Factorio job here that's looking for that node client, just deploys the job, mounts a disk to that client with the Factorio save data on it, and just spins up the service. So it's seamless when it works. And it sends a ping of the IP address to our Discord channel so we can then log into the server.
Oh, nice.
Eventually, we want to get it so it automatically updates DNS, and then we would just go to factorio@devcastops.com, and that would boot us into the game.
That's pretty awesome.
And it's just, so it's
pretty cool
project.
project
You want to get
as
it
well.
to be seamless behind it. Yeah, it's nice. It's fun, and we play with it, experimenting with stuff, with setting up things with console to get it to auto configure. It's just a place to play. But it's interesting because it's now got to the stage where it's bigger than the tutorials. So we're starting to run into sort of more real world old issues of we want to do TLS, but this TLS doesn't talk to that TLS. And how do we get this to trust?
Fair.
It's interesting to see because the tutorials are good and they're great to get started, but after a while, if you start doing too many of them, one will want one configuration, one will want another, and it's trying to work out how to merge all of that together.
And we come back to the financial institute with hundreds of applications at that point, and now we are in the same circle as them, where you have a lot of applications, each requiring its own unique set of configuration that you have to manage and work with.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long to get there, surprisingly.
Yeah, wow.
Which I was surprised.
And are you guys scaling it across multiple Google projects as well, or
We
keeping it
don't
simple?
have it that big at the moment. In theory, we could scale it to go across multiple Google projects and have different areas. The way we differentiate is we have different node pools, which use different jobs. We could use different namespaces in Nomad to segment off different departments. So you start to get that sort of segregation of concern, boxing in applications to their own space so they can't reach out and accidentally talk to somebody else.
Cool. That's awesome. That was most of the technical questions I have. So I've finished the game now.
Finished anger.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and not walk the table, but I have to feel all of his feeling is going to fall. You might have grab your glass, man.
It's going to put this on the floor so we don't smash it.
This is definitely, although top 3 are a secret. Can't do that. Oh, there you go.
Found a soft one.
All right.
I feel like the Slayer is still free, one of those. Damn.
We're going to be here for the rest of the afternoon, basically. Okay.
I don't know. I feel like we haven't got many blocks left that we can get.
Oh, yeah.
Just gonna pull that one out.
Oh, good job, man. Good job. Can I pull this one out as well? I'll just try that. I feel like that's stable enough. If I do that one move, let's do this like that.
I feel like when you're going for one that's already been outer layer, you're
you're doing the hard job of putting the outer layer. Oh,
is this gonna go?
Oh, okay.
That was the strategy.
I appreciate you coming on and letting me win this one. Because the other one was really bad. Where can people find you on the internet, man? I can get you know about the playground you're playing with as well.
The playground is a meetup, so that is through meetup.com. That's UK based. We do stream online. I think it's through GlobalLogic's YouTube channel.
Sure.
Those are last Thursday of every month. And if you sign up on Meetup, you'll get a lab account where you can play with the infrastructure that we're talking about. So if we're doing a talk on Terraform, you will get your own little web IDE and you'll be able to spin up some Terraform resources. The other content that I create is on Monday evenings, UK time, we stream for Devcast Ops. That's on Twitch.
Yep.
The series has been pushed to YouTube and it's under the same name, Devcast Ops. And then on Saturdays, we do our gaming streams, which are a little bit more informal, but if anyone ever wants to come along and chat about technical stuff while we're playing games, they're more than welcome to come along.
Wait, when do you not stream? You're like Monday, Friday, Thursday?
Monday and Saturday are our regular ones, and then the DevOps Playground's only once a month. So
Oh,
that's
okay,
Thursday.
fair. Wow, you're streaming on a weekly basis, man. Like that is one commitment, but I appreciate that. I'll put that in the show notes as well. But I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Thank you. Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching this episode of Cloud Security Podcast. We have been running for the past 5 years, so I'm sure we haven't covered everything cloud security yet. And if there's a particular cloud security topic that we can cover for you in an interview format on Cloud Security Podcast, or make a training video on tutorials on Cloud Security Bootcamp, definitely reach out to us on info@cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. By the way, if you're interested in AI and cybersecurity, as many cybersecurity leaders are, you might be interested in our System AI Cybersecurity Podcast, which I run with former CSO of Robinhood, Caleb Seamer, where we talk about everything AI and cybersecurity. How can organizations deal with cybersecurity on AI systems, AI platforms, whatever AI has to bring next as an evolution of ChatGPT and everything else continues. If you have any other suggestions, definitely drop them on info@cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. I'll drop that in the description and the show notes as well, so you can reach out to us easily. Otherwise, I will see you in the next episode. Peace.